I wanted to be here to represent Chris, obviously, and it's not the ideal time to do that, but I still want to embrace everything that he should be here to do with me.
With Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth welcoming you back to America's Forum. That was Taya Kyle, the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle, attending last night's Oscars ceremony, though she mentioned it wasn't exactly the best time for her to be there.
Yeah, that's because closing arguments in the trial of her husband's accused killer were supposed to happen today.
And after flying a red-eye flight following those ceremonies last night into this morning, turns out she's going to have an extra day before the trial, weather forcing the cancellation of continued proceedings in that trial. But the ice in the Lone Star State does not stop us from discussing matters of the case still up for determination. To do that with today's legal brief, let's welcome in Boston criminal defense attorney Geoffrey G. Nathan. Geoffrey, it's good to have you back.
All right, how are you?
Well, I just know, apart from the merits of the case, you guys in Boston have been living through a ferocious winter. You don't cast aspersions on Texas and the ice slowing down the trial today, do you?
Nah, in fact, I think it's better judgment of the court just to defer, to delay the thing until such time as people can get around safely. I mean, for heaven's sakes, they've got the same concerns that we do here in Boston as they do down there in Texas. So the whole country is sort of gripped in this paralyzing near crisis. And I would say the judge exercises better judgment in deferring on the case, yeah.
I want to get your thoughts now. We just mentioned that Kyle's wife was at the Oscars. You heard the clip there. Is there any concern about all the attention that she's getting right now and how that could impact the case?
I think the judge is going to, when he reseats the jury, he's going to ask them whether or not they were watching the Oscars, and if they did they catch her there? And if they did catch her there, would that affect their ability to fairly deliberate upon the evidence of the case? Because her attending the Oscars has nothing to do with the trial in the case. So yeah, I think it's definitely got to come up. They've got to screen out those jurors who are affected by it and boot them off the jury, as a matter of fact, and seat somebody else.
Well, if that were to take place, Geoffrey, would that delay a decision? Would there be any chance for either side to redirect, or are those alternate jurors there listening to the whole case? Is that Texas law and procedure? 2 minutes remain.
Oh, yeah, you've got to have those alternate jurors ready for those circumstances in which jurors are kicked off because of various reasons having to do with either their inability to participate in the jury deliberations, and that can happen in these very complex psycho cases where they just don't understand either what's going on, or they refuse to believe anything that the defense says about whether or not the defendant is a wacko and deserves to be locked up in a mental hospital instead of a tough prison. So the circumstances really get down to the fact that the judge has to control the courtroom. That's what it's all about in this particular case at this point.
How important, just curious, how important are the closing arguments in this case?
Oh, wow. This is really when it comes down to the fact that if you're not prepared for your closing and you haven't rehearsed it over and over, you're not going to be able to sell this jury. And this comes down to a massive battle of the experts. And you've got to be able to recreate your expert's testimony in your closing and pitch to the jurors as to why your expert's more believable than the other side's experts. And that's what really makes this work a lot of fun, to tell you the truth.
And you know, Geoffrey Nathan, as we heard you offer thoughts on the importance of the closing argument, we might say you made a pretty effective closing argument as to what attorneys on both sides need to do, both with their perspective on the case and the passion that they bring to it as well. As always, Geoffrey, we thank you for your time, and we would remind you that you have the chance to read the whole story of Chris Kyle, the most lethal sniper in U.S. history, by getting the book American Sniper. And you can do so by going to newsmax.com/sniper. We'll be back with more right after this.